What is the role of Sir Syed Ahmed Khan in Indian politics between 1860 and 1898? 14. ANS. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, 1817 to 1898, played a profoundly influential and complex role in Indian politics, particularly concerning the Muslim community, during the period from roughly 1860 until his death in 1898. The time frame you provided, 1860 to 1999, extends far beyond his lifetime. His direct political role and primary influence were concentrated in the latter half of the 19th century. His political role can be understood through several key phases and objectives. Post-1857 reconciliation and loyalty to the British, 1860s to 1870s. Context. The revolt of 1857 was a watershed moment. The British held Muslims largely responsible, leading to their persecution and marginalization. Role. Sir Syed, who had remained loyal to the British and saved many European lives, took it upon himself to bridge the gap between the British rulers and the Muslim community. Actions. He wrote Asbab-e Bagawati Hind, The Causes of the Indian Revolt, arguing that the revolt was due to British ignorance of Indian customs and lack of Indian representation in governance, not a pre-planned Muslim conspiracy. He wrote The Loyal Mohammedans of India to showcase Muslim loyalty. His primary political strategy during this phase was to persuade Muslims to adopt loyalty towards the British Crown as a means of self-preservation and progress. He believed that British rule was too strong to be challenged and that cooperation was essential for Muslim upliftment. Advocacy for modern education as a political tool, 1870s onwards. Role. Sir Syed believed that the political and socio-economic decline of Muslims was due to their rejection of modern Western education and science. He saw education as the primary means for Muslims to regain their lost prestige, secure government jobs, and participate effectively in the emerging political landscape. Actions. Established the Scientific Society, 1864, to translate Western works into Urdu. Founded the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental, MAO, College at Aligarh in 1875, which became Aligarh Muslim University in 1920. This institution was central to his vision of creating a modern, educated Muslim elite that could lead the community and engage with the British. The Aligarh movement emerged from these efforts, becoming a significant force in shaping Muslim thought and politics. Shift towards communal political identity and opposition to the Indian National Congress, mid-1880s onwards. Context. The formation of the Indian National Congress, INC, in 1885 marked a new phase in Indian politics, advocating for greater Indian participation in governance and representative institutions. Role. Sir Syed adopted a stance of opposition to the INC and advised Muslims to abstain from it. Reasons and actions. Fear of Hindu majority rule. He argued that in a representative system based on numerical strength, the Hindu majority would dominate, and Muslim interests would be neglected. Muslims were a minority and, in his view, educationally and economically lagging. Focus on education and loyalty. He believed Muslims were not yet ready for agitational politics and should first focus on education and strengthening their community, while maintaining loyalty to the British to secure concessions. Emphasis on distinct Muslim identity. He began to articulate the idea that Hindus and Muslims were two distinct qawms, nations or communities, with separate interests. While he initially spoke of Hindus and Muslims as two eyes of a beautiful bride, his later rhetoric emphasized their differences, especially in a political context. Formation of counter-organizations. He founded the United Indian Patriotic Association, 1888, with both Hindu and Muslim members, to counter the Inks' propaganda and demonstrate loyalty to the British. Later, he established the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental Defense Association, 1893, specifically to protect Muslim political interests and advocate for separate representation, laying the groundwork for separate electorates. Role. While he did not explicitly demand separate electorates in the way the Muslim League later did, his arguments about Muslims being a distinct community with unique interests, deserving of special safeguards and representation, e.g., nomination for Muslims to councils rather than election in a general electorate, laid the intellectual foundation for this demand. Summary of his political role, 1860 to 1898. Reconciler. He sought to reconcile Muslims with British rule after 1857. Modernizer. He championed modern education as a tool for political empowerment for Muslims. Loyalist. He advocated loyalty to the British as a strategy for Muslim advancement. Separatist thinker, in a communal, not territorial, sense initially. He fostered a sense of distinct Muslim political identity and discouraged participation in the INC, fearing Hindu majority rule. This inadvertently sowed the seeds for later separatist politics, although his aim was the protection and progress of Muslims within India. Community leader. He became the foremost political voice and leader for a large section of the Muslim community in North India. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's legacy is complex. He was a visionary educational reformer who did immense service to Muslim education. However, his political stance of keeping Muslims away from the INC and emphasizing their separate identity is seen by many historians as having contributed to the growth of communalism and, eventually, the demand for Pakistan, even if that was not his original intention. His primary political goal was to ensure that Muslims were not left behind in the changing political and administrative landscape of British India.